All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the 360 Executive Suites podcast. My name is Ed Masterson. I'm a certified life coach here in the Santa Clarita Valley and beyond. And it's great to have you joining us here today. I want to, before I introduce my great guest who's joining us here today, I want to also thank our sponsor, Mr. Fred Arnold of 360 Executive Suites. Fred's a great guy. He has 4 state-of-the-art office complexes here in the Santa Clarita Valley. One of those is the one that the podcast studio is located in, which is at 25101 The Old Road. You might know it as the historic Remax building just off the 5. Also, Fred has 3 other properties here in Santa Clarita. Here's what I'd say. If you're looking for a business home away from home and you want a space where you're going to be with other very talented, successful people in a very collaborative environment, check out 360 Executive Suites. We'll put a contact piece up at the end of the episode so you can get in touch with either Fred or his team, and they can show you the spaces that are available in all 4 properties. It's really a nice environment to be in. My guest today, of course, is one of the tenants here as well in this building. And Fred also has the brand new home center here in the 2nd story of this building. Anything you want to know about real estate and homes here in the Santa Clarita Valley, you can get that information here as well. Okay, my guest today, Raquel Marchant. Raquel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to hear about your company, SC Real Estate, and also SC Real Estate Mamas.
Yes. So it's changed a little bit, but the last 9 years we've been the SC Real Estate Mamas, so Southern California Real Estate Mamas. And then Kim moved to Tennessee, so we're also the Tennessee Real Estate Mamas. And then Tammy Sims joined us in Tennessee, so she was like, I kind of feel like I need to get out of the SC thing because now she's living in Tennessee too. And so we went Good Day Home Team, powered by the SC Real Estate Mamas.
I'll tell you what I like about that title. When I saw it on the website, I love it, is because I feel like you're not only getting the services of real estate professionals, but people that will take care of you like a mom would, so you don't make any dumb mistakes or accidentally mess up your transaction, whatever it is, right?
No, and that was spot on. Like I remember this, and my husband's going to kill me when he hears this, but it was about 9 years ago. Kim joined me. I was ready to retire. I was burnt out, and I'm like, I either need a partner or I got to leave. And then her and I got together, both had 3 kids, both did the mom things. We'd get up, we'd get the kids to school, we'd go to work, we'd take care of everybody else, we'd go home, we'd take care of the family, we'd go back to taking care of our clients. And I told her, I said, I think with all of our agents also being moms, I think we should be something related to mamas. And I remember telling my husband, I'm like, we're going to be the SC Real Estate Mamas. He's like, Santa Clarita? I go, no, Southern California, because, I've been in business 34 years. I feel like I know Southern California well enough. And that was one of the things where he's like, no, I thought that was a great idea now. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You were like, no, you're gonna pigeonhole yourself. And I said, that's okay too.
That's funny.
I was fine with it. We were fine with it because we kind of felt like we know we're not for everybody, but we are for a significant amount of people out here that run households and know how difficult it is.
Yeah.
It's a full-time job being a mama.
It is. And, our kids are all grown up now. My son's 28, our daughter's 24. But I remember when my wife was taking time off her job, when the kids were born. You're right. It is. Because I was working out of the house with a partner of mine. We were like script writing, trying to be famous writers and never materialized. But like I saw like up front, like, oh my God, yeah, this is a full-time thing. So anybody that minimizes the fact that it's not just doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. And so we kind of took that same way that we ran our households and we ran the business. So we took people in, we found out who they were. Like, we're not just agents that stick a sign in your yard. We are consultants through and through. But we figured out who you were, found out what your goals were, got to learn about your family. And then that helped us generate the right business model for you. So how are we selling your home? How much money do we need to get you? Because I kind of treat it like they're my family.
Right.
And so I want the best for them no matter what. Doesn't matter personality wise, doesn't matter what kind of money they have, don't have. We treated everybody the same. And that was kind of the mama's title behind that.
Well, no, and I like that because it is, how long have you been in the real estate business? I'm sorry, you just said that.
Since I started with Paul and Teddy Murad in 1988.
Okay.
And I started cold calling. So it's been over 34 years.
Okay, so you have massive experience
Yes.
as a professional in the business. But I think what sets you apart, I love this idea that you came up with, which is from the heart as well as being maybe a little more unique compared to other people in this business doing the same thing, right? Because I'm guessing it's a I worked in real estate for about 8 months with Pam Ingram.
Oh, I love Pam.
back in 2006, right? And I was terrible in the business. And it was a very, no, it made me very, again, back to how tough it is to be a mom at home. Real estate professionals, it's so funny. People that don't know all the pieces of the puzzle and people that are good at it make it look sort of easy from the outside because we don't realize what's really there that you're doing all the time, right? On behalf of your clients. Once you get a taste of what it's really like, I thought, wow, this is a group of people that should be respected immensely. And I love the fact that you add even more of a component into it, not only taking care of your clients for all the legalities that go into a transaction, but treating them like your family and holding their hand and walking them through what I would still imagine is the largest financial transaction most of us are ever going to be involved in our lives, unless we own a business and we're buying $1 million business or $10 million business. But purchasing a home is like such a personal thing. You're going to spend your life in there. So to have somebody approaching it with that level of care must be really comforting to your clients.
I think so. We don't advertise, like we don't put much out there. I'm not even a social media person. Like you'll laugh at if you've looked at my stuff. Like I might post like a standard thing that someone gave me and I just stick it up there. But what I've learned is by taking such good care of our clients that we always get that phone call, that referral phone call, or just family. Like I've sold a grandparents, I've sold the mom and dad, I've sold the kids, and it keeps growing. And so I love that. And like you were saying is I think the compliment that I've felt most impacted by is all of the agents that I've mentored and brought through the business, because I think that's really important to show them how to take care of people and insulate them from the problems, their clients from the problems. But what I did, like you're saying, is they had no idea how difficult this business was, because what they said was, you made it look so easy. We thought this is a dream job. So they hurried up, bought their license, took their test, and then half of them just didn't do it after 6 months, a year. They're like, Raquel, this is so stressful. Like I can't sleep at night.
I know. When I took my license test, it was over in Pasadena. I think, without exaggerating, there were like 400 people in the room taking the test that day. And I feel like at that point, maybe, so that would have been back around 2006-ish, I felt like maybe that was like a new career du jour for people that thought it's an easy way to get in and make money. And you're so right, Raquel. I mean, all the people I know in Santa Clarita we moved here in 1988, all the people that I know that are professionals in the business are the ones that, you're right, skill and talent carries the day. They're still around.
Yeah, they're all still around. Yeah, Kathy's around, Neil's around. Oh my gosh, I could go on and on and on. But there's that whole group that's come up, and they were the big time agents. I was so young. I was 18 licensed and started, younger, cold calling. I was scared. And that's the part where I feel like I think the service giving back to other agents was so important to me, because I remember what that felt like.
Yeah.
And John and Alice, who they were my first brokers.
Yeah.
But at Canyon Country over on Sierra Highway, when they had that first walk up the stairs, I remember I got that letter from John, and I was like, oh my God, they want me to work for them. This is awesome. Remax is, a great company. And then you realize later on they send a letter to everybody. But they had it right. They had it right. All the things that are wrong with real estate right now it's a broker issue and it's a lack of education issue. Because if you bring people in and you force them to be mentored and you pair them up with the right person, they're going to be great agents. There's some people that I came up through the business with. I'm not going to throw up names out, but we had the same mentor and we were both amazing agents. Maybe even they were even better than I was, because they probably didn't have to do the mama stuff. Some of the guys.
Right.
I've got mentored, same thing. And we were great agents. The difference being I didn't have all the time in the world. Yeah. But you could see how that mentoring really made a difference. And Remax had it figured out back then.
Yeah, I remember John and Alice, because when I worked with Pam, we were in this building. We were down at the end of the building up here. And it felt very nurturing. Like there was classes. I forget the lady's name that was on staff here. She was great, but she'd hold classes for all the new people that were here in the building and teach us about all the different stuff. Yeah, it was great. But you're right. It is very stressful, because I felt, for me personally, I felt like we were absorbing the stress of the clients because they were concerned about why wasn't their house selling fast enough, or how come the offers weren't the right way, or whatever, a variety of things that they would be concerned about, and legitimately so. How did you know at 18? Was it when you got into the business? Was it, I just need a job and this looks interesting, or did you have some other desire to be in real
Oh,
estate?
goodness. Okay. So as a child, I wanted to be a veterinarian because I think most little girls, probably do. I finished high school just a little bit. I think I started college early. Like before I finished high school, I went to COC.
Okay.
My mom was a cop at Beverly Hills and we could only afford to live out here. There was nowhere else we could afford. So we
Okay.
lived out here. I went to COC. I happened to take an elective on real estate. I was working for a stock brokerage down in outside of Beverly Hills on Wilshire. God, I want to say Century City, but it wasn't. The other way by the Museum Square building. So I did that. I have Crohn's disease and some other autoimmune diseases, like 5 autoimmunes. The mornings really hurt me because if I didn't feel well, I didn't sleep well, and then I had to be up by 4:30 to hit the road to start at the stock brokerage. So meantime, they let me go to school. So I'd leave some days, half days, or I'd come in late and I was going to school. That real estate class, and I can't remember my instructor's name, but he did it for me. It was so interesting and so fascinating to me. That's never changed. So it was kind of like, okay, I want a job that has to do with money somewhere along the lines. And I wasn't thinking money at the time, but I was just super interested in that. And so I took that class and I was like, oh, I'm going to get my license. And so I kind of went on that trajectory and I wasn't doing well. I was having some surgeries. Like we didn't know what Crohn's was back then.
Right.
So that was a tough time trying to figure that out. But I realized if I could work my own schedule, I'd be better off. I didn't think I would stay in real estate. I was still going to school. It took me 12 years to get my associates.
Right.
And then I was really ill again and I was taking anatomy and physiology. And that was the last class I needed to like go apply to go like, I know Western School had just opened up like in Pomona, like things like that where I could go locally for college. And I sat down with my husband. I'm like, well, this is going to be the time. Mind you, I was pregnant with my first kid. And he was like, what's wrong with real estate? And I'm like, nothing. I love it. But I feel like I'm missing something. Like I should have like a career. And I just didn't see it as that originally.
Right.
And obviously that's what it's turned into, being a mortgage broker and a property manager owner and a notary and all encompassing. I probably should have just gone to law school now that I know what I know
Right.
and contractually what we have to know, and
Yeah.
I'd probably make more money. But yeah, it kind of just stuck. Like I kept praying about it and I kept asking God, like, will you just send me in the right direction? Should I go back to school? Like, what is my service supposed to be? And then it just dawned on me one day. I don't know if he was talking to me or what, but it just dawned on me. And I was like, I'm in the right place. I'm serving people every day by making sure they're okay. People first, then money. It's just been great for us.
That's great. I love hearing that, just your realizations as you went through the evolution of things and how you thought through it. And I'm sorry, my chair is sinking.
You are sinking.
Yeah, this is the famous sinking chair. I have to have Fred get a new chair. But that is good, Raquel. And I think, well, when we bought our house, we bought it from the developer. So it was just,
I sold new homes.
Yeah,
I
okay.
did that out here with New Holland and Farm and some of the others. Where'd you buy?
We bought over in Circle J Ranch in the Claiborne
Oh, I
division.
love that track. That's one of the best ever.
It was the only one that was we stumbled on it accidentally when, everywhere else in town had waiting lists. At that time, this was 1988. And we stumbled on it accidentally. And the next day they were doing a release, I guess. And so we showed up at 5 a.m. and we've been there ever since.
That's awesome. Good for you too. What a smart move to stay. Like I see so many people that jump ship. And had they just kept that or, stayed in that home, the financials would be a lot different.
It is really funny. And you see it because you're in it every day. So maybe it doesn't seem as drastic to you. But when we bought that house, it was like $160,000, right? And we always kick ourselves because we bought the 2-story 3-bedroom one. And if we could have pushed ourselves a little bit for the 4-bedroom 2-story one, and I honestly think, Raquel, the difference might have been $10,000 or $15,000, but we were just at the edge of where we thought, no, we can't do it. And now, of course, the great advice is buy as much as you can, right?
Yesterday, not tomorrow, not next week, not yesterday.
But when we had that thing, Fred did a refinance for us a few years ago, and it got appraised. And I said, there's no way anybody's paying that kind of money for these homes. They're just, they're nice,
They're like
but they're
$1 million
basic.
now.
Right.
Yeah.
And if someone would have told you that back then, of course not. It would have seemed impossible that it could ever get to that point.
And
right?
when you bought the house, it seemed high. You're like, oh, geez, like we're not going to put any more money into this.
Yeah,
you
because
know?
it was a view lot, right? So we were up high looking out.
Yeah.
Of
Oh, we
course,
used to get people so good with new home sales. It was like, I won't say all of the ones I sold out here, but I sold in other parts of California and out of state. I consulted too for some builders, but everything would be 1,000 up, 5,000 up, 10,000 up. And I'm like, God, these poor people, like none of this is worth the value of, they just get to make more money off of you.
I think our view lot premium was $10,000. So that was, and now of course the view is obscured because the people we're up on the highest part, and then there's a big drop off to the people down below,
Yeah.
but now all the trees have grown up.
Oh, so we live in Hidden Valley, and if you had a view lot and you paid for it, they will top the trees for you if you ask for it in our HOA because we bought it as a view lot.
Wow, I never.
I mean,
thought
I didn't, but
we don't have an HOA, so that's
no,
how
yes, it would be on you,
It'd
but
be on me.
they'll top ours. But I don't ask them to. I like those things as tall, and I want to feel like enclosed in and private as
I'm
as
with
I
you.
can.
I don't mind it at all. I think it's kind of cool now. And if you want to, you can still walk to the back of the yard and still see a view, right? It's not that bad. But no. So what is it that like regular people like me that are not in the profession of real estate, what are some of the things that regular people don't realize when it comes time for them? They say they want to purchase a home, maybe they want to sell their home. What are some misconceptions or things that you have to constantly be educating people about for the process at that point?
Well, I think it changes. Right now, I think the biggest thing is the house needs to be turnkey. We have a whole new generation of people that are TikTokers and Reels and Instagrammers. They think everything is just turnkey, perfect, ready to move in. And they want those things because they're seeing that on HGTV and things like that. That's the biggest one where people are like, oh, it'll be fine. And then your house doesn't show well. You have a problem with that side of it. I think the other side is if you love something, don't go back and forth over a couple $1,000s. Just get the home. Don't lose the home over it. Because the second you lose the home, you'll be like, well, we would have paid that. That's a big one on the buy side that I see. The other thing is right now is interest rates. Everybody wants to wait because they think the rates are going to go down. But because we're in that, if you go back to like 2019, same time, nothing was selling. Everything was just hovering and we were lowering prices. It's what people are waiting for right now. So there's not much on the market. I would just buy anything you could buy because the second the rates drop, the prices are going to go through the roof again. It's going to be like COVID all over again. Everybody's been sitting all these years since COVID because they've got these great rates. If they aren't able to have someone assume them and keep those rates, they don't want to lose the rates, but they need to move. And I would say do it sooner than later because you're going to be the one who's having the harder time making that next bump up. Because prices, if they do go up, they're not going to, you're going to have 5 offers. You're not going to have one. And right now you have no competition.
So it's safe to say, right, which I think is the advice we got way back when, like you should buy real estate right now.
Yes, as much as you can, all the time, nonstop.
Yeah.
And if you only want to own one home, sell it every 2 years, take your equity and take that tax break. And then that way, when you get closer to your retirement age or what have you, you don't have as much capital gains that you have to declare. Take it, move on, buy it, next one, or buy something, even if it depends on your situation. But I've had young people who don't want to move into what they bought because it wasn't their dream home, but they end up renting them out. And then 5 years later, they sell it and buy like 3 houses because they have all the equity.
Okay.
And they stayed living at home with mom and dad. So yes, I would say buy it as soon as you can and as many as you can and hold on to them for as long as you can.
Do you, back to your point about people wanting homes to be perfect, when they look at them and homes show better or not, depending what they have in them. Do you sometimes go in, like if we were selling our home and we were working with you, would you come in and do an analysis for us and just kind of say, okay, look, that's outdated. You need to do this.
Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll walk the home with you and we'll tell you, here's what we would do. But here's the other thing we can do. Like we just closed an Old Orchard one on Via Piscana and the seller was leaving the state and the house hadn't been updated in probably 30 years. And we said, hey, we'll make a deal with you. We realize you don't have the cash to do it, but we'll put $55,000 in. You split the difference of what you'd make today versus what we'll make you. We'll do all the work. We'll do everything. And we'll split that difference. We do that. And we went from an probably 25-ish sale to a 985 sale. So our client walked
Wow.
away with an extra $40,000,
Wow.
which was right substantial, especially if you're moving and you've got all
Sure.
those expenses. So we do that. That's the thing with us is, like I was saying, is we're not a traditional broker. We'll do anything encompassing real estate. We'll do our own flips. Anything that you need. We find out, like if I came in and sat with you, I'd be like, what's the goal? What is your end goal? And if you don't know that, let's think about like, what are the next steps in your lives? Are you guys having kids? Are you downsizing? Then we would help you figure all of that out. Maybe California is not the right place to invest. Maybe there's other places, but that's the nice thing about sitting down with us is we would help you design that.
Yeah.
At your house, we'll come in, we'll stage it. We'll send our handyman in. We can do painting. We can do anything, little to big. Like I said, we're about to put out the video of what we just did, and it's just blows you away of just 4 weeks, some money, and you could make that extra money. I think that's hard for people to understand how simple it is to do.
That's a great story. You're talking about this group. So I want to come back to that 1 second. Are there some homes, even if they are 40 years old, that were built timeless enough to where even when you walk into them, they look good as is and you don't want to change them?
Yeah. If the floor and the paint's been done, and I would say appliances and, your kitchen's not too dated, then yeah, it's fine. There's some that still have the white tile, tile on their countertops,
Right.
and they've done like black grout or a color grout, like they tie it in. That's fine. And we will come up with inexpensive fixes, and then we'll give you all the way to the end. The difference is typically money you put in, higher percentage of, what you're going to get out, less money, less percentage of what you're going to get out. But the quicker you need the sale, the better the home needs to look.
Yeah.
And the more money you'll get.
What a great service, though, for you to have all the resources at your disposal to offer people those services to say, look, we think if you did X, Y, and Z, the value goes up. We're happy to, like you did, do that split. That's such an awesome idea. That's great.
Yeah, we have other companies too that are part of Real that where we have our licenses at for California and Tennessee. And there is a service where the seller could actually do it. They could sell it, and then we'll fix it up, and then we'll sell it. So they could get out of it quickly, maybe give them a little bit more money.
Right.
So there's a few different ways that we could do it. But yes, anything encompassing real estate, as long as it's not illegal, we're in there for you. I mean, we know AITDs, we know assumptions, we know short sales, we know, all of those things. So that's why it's like just sitting down and having that couple of, that hour or so of just kind of figuring out where you're going and what we need to do.
Right.
That right there just takes it to another level.
Right. And again, I'm guessing just from talking to you for a few minutes here, you guys are no pressure, helpful, just because you want to make sure people understand all their options, and just, I'm sure they walk away from a meeting with you feeling really good about whether they decide to move forward right away and do it or not, to know that you're there when they finally do decide to come, hopefully work with you at that point to do it.
I think so. I'm definitely no pressure. I'm very straightforward, and I know some people I don't come across the way they'd like because I'm very, very matter of fact. Because when it comes to your money, I'm not messing around with your money. I'm not messing around with my money. I'm not messing around with your money. So I'm very matter of fact. There's no sugarcoating it when it comes to your money. And that's the great thing about Kim and I being partners is she's just so sweet and so kind and so much more patient. And then I'm just matter of fact and short and a driver. So that's the nice thing too, is you get some really strong people backing you, and not just one, but a team of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy things that are out of the box. Like I'll do a regular sale all day long, but I think my mind enjoys something a little bit more difficult. And I think the reward at the end is always a bigger reward, and everybody wins.
What's the biggest battle you have sometimes with clients? Is it convincing them that to change the pricing that they want for their home? Like what sort of, not, I always say battles, that's maybe too strong of a word, discussions you have to have with clients sometimes, like the come to Jesus meeting about realities?
I think when people have that interest rate like shock and then price sticker shock, they're so stuck on what the actual rate is versus their payment. And then the same thing on the price of a home. I'll show people a 750 home and an 800 home, and the 800 home is a way better deal. Even though it's $50,000 more, they might be paying a couple $100 more a month.
Right.
But they aren't thinking like that. They're like, no, that's just, and then they wait too long to buy, and then they missed out. And now it's another 50,000, and now it's another 50,000. That part's hard to get people past. The interest rate, especially for some reason, 7% to 6.75 just does something to people. And I'd be like, just take whatever rate you're not buying down because you're going to refi it. If you buy it down, I had a client that just bought down a rate for $27,000 because they needed to qualify. That's tough. That's wasted. That's wasted money. It was just a qualification thing, you know?
Is it difficult now to, because I was speaking to some real estate folks maybe 6 months ago. Is it very difficult now for people to get approved for a home loan, or is it getting better at this point?
I'm hoping that we're starting to see more non-conventional lending and they're getting a little softer. But, you know, since the '08 crash and they blamed all of us mortgage brokers like it was our fault,
Right.
when it was truly the banks. If people like watch the movies and the documentaries, you do see it wasn't us, but they needed to blame somebody. So we have all this education we have to consistently do every year because of that. They got really strict. Really strict. And it's hard for a first time buyer. Those ratios, especially living in California, that debt to income, you're not coming out of college with making a ton of money.
Right.
You're not. And you've got all those student debts and things like that. So that's hurting them a lot because of those ratios. And I think if we just loosened up just a little bit, that would make a huge difference in who could own a home.
Do you also do commercial real estate?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I manage commercial properties. We'll help people buy, sell, leases, anything real estate related. We'll do.
Is commercial a little easier in some ways than residential because
There's less
emotional?
emotion.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Although I do get families that inherit properties and they're emotional because they don't understand it. Like maybe their parents owned it or an uncle left it to them. They don't get it and they're emotional about it just because they don't see it strictly just a business.
Yeah.
Just business. I do like commercial because most of the time you don't have that happen. And it's just easier. It's a Monday through Friday. And I usually work Monday through Thursday. I try and not go to the office on Fridays and work Saturday by appointment. But I love that about commercial. Monday through Friday. And half the time Fridays that aren't even working. So.
Has the advent of people looking up on these various websites that say what the price of a home should be or is or whatever, does that aggravate you as a realtor with all the real knowledge in your head? If I come in and say, hey, look, I've been looking on Zillow and I know this house should be whatever.
I don't think so. I think it opens up a conversation for us to educate them.
Okay.
I like to educate our clients. If they're willing to learn, I encourage them to read the contracts, understand where the pricing points come from, how appraisals work, the house next door is the same as your house, but they got $50,000. Like I like to explain those things to everybody. And the more they're willing to listen and learn, the better off they'll be, because I think that changes the trajectory of where they're going to be in real estate 20, 30 years from now, you know, and if people would listen and their lives would be so much simpler because that generational wealth.
Right.
But yeah, I don't mind that. I really don't. Like I said, I think that opens up the doors for us to show them how we come up with a price. And that's the thing. And that's why we go by SoCal Real Estate Mamas and not just SC like Santa Clarita.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter where it's at as a real estate professional. I might have to learn a little bit about the area, but comp-wise, you can comp out a home no matter what if you're a professional, you know what you're doing. So bring those numbers to us when you come because we want to make sure you understand them. And that could be including a lot next door, you know, that went for $200,000, and it could be including a mansion that went for $10 million.
Right.
And they're coming up with this weird average.
Right.
And that's why that part doesn't work. Sometimes it does. I'll look on Zillow. I have no problem checking something out. If someone calls and they're like, hey, and I'm in the car, our address is, I'll pop it in there quick because then I can see the house, get the map, and just have a quick idea before I go home and do all my research.
Right.
So that part of it I think is useful. The part that's not is the averaging. I think Zillow just wants you to click in so that they can get you because they have agents, you know, that will represent you. So they want to make their money off of you. So that's always an interesting part of it too, is they're like, oh, well, we'll call them. And yeah, but how are they educated? Who are they working for? What are they doing? Who's teaching them? A local agent that's been with a company, you know, locally, I think is a way better fit. So I like that conversation.
The Southern California reach is kind of cool, I think. So, for example, my mom lives in a town called Whittier.
Yep.
Where I grew up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Same house that I grew up in. And at some point, if she wanted to sell that or something like that, would that be something then that you guys could?
Absolutely.
look at?
Absolutely. Yeah. My dad's down in Oceanside.
Yeah. Okay.
And I grew up in La Crescenta, Glendale, Laguna Hills, El Toro, Tustin, San Diego.
You've been all around.
So my dad was in the military. So when I was young, we moved a lot. But once my mom was a cop in Beverly Hills, we kind of stayed Glendale, La Crescenta area. But yes, anywhere you send us in Southern California, I kind of say Santa Barbara down. I don't feel like Central and Northern California, it's not the same.
Right.
It's a different type of market. But anything in Southern California, if you know what you're doing, you can absolutely do a great job for them. And I think a better job than an agent you might not know who figures they're never going to hear from you again.
Right.
I think having a relationship with someone is the most important thing.
I agree. I think the relationship thing, and this has been my experience working in Santa Clarita after I got out of the movie business, but just relationships in Santa Clarita for me and all the jobs I've had over the years here, that has been the key, because some of the jobs I've been in, most of them, I got into them with zero experience in them, and I had to just kind of learn on the job. And it was the ability to make connections and create personal relations with people, right? So I agree with you 1,000% on that, Raquel. You mentioned that your dad was in the military, your mom was a police officer in Beverly Hills, so you come from a very well-disciplined family, I imagine.
And my husband retired from Glendale after 31 and a half years as a battalion chief. So yeah, my household was not, my mom used to do the dust test on us when we would do our chores. And it would be the drawers out, everything off the hanger. It wasn't going the right direction. Then I married, a firefighter who I said I would never marry, because I'm like, I'm not marrying anyone civil service. Like, that's not going to happen. You see the affairs, you see all kinds of ugly stuff, like in my mom and dad's careers, and I wasn't going to do it. And so he happened to be one of the good guys,
Right.
super loyal, super family oriented, and he somehow persuaded me. But yes, our household, super disciplined. I think we had toilet locks on our toilets until the kids were like 5. No joke. And I'm like, they can open those. Yeah, but they'd have to open them before they fell. And I'm like, dog water off the floor, smoke alarms in the rooms, outside the rooms. We had the talking ones, the non-talking. It was a little bit much.
We need your husband to come do a walkthrough on our house and make sure we have some new fire alarms.
So, oh my gosh, when the kids were little, he would make me go with batteries, and they'd have to check the smoke detectors if they were allowed to spend the night. More often than not, their smoke alarms were not working.
Right, because the battery is dead, or they never put them in. Or
They
whatever.
don't think about it. Oh no, ours get changed every 6 months.
That's super smart.
It is. It's a little over the top, but yes, I get it. Safety, family, right?
My wife's dad was a deputy sheriff for years. He's passed away, but he was a deputy sheriff in LA County. So yeah, he was a little more lax probably. It's so funny, when I was dating my wife, it used to crack me up even then. They never locked. She lived in La Mirada, which is one town over from Whittier. They never locked their front door. Like, so I'd bring her home from a date at 2 a.m, and the front door is just unlocked. She'd just walk in.
And ours wasn't allowed to be unlocked. So my mom lives with us. So my mom retired early to help take care of the kids, because I wasn't doing good after our third kid with some of my illnesses. So my mom's like, well, I'll retire soon. We'll make up the difference for her. She's lived with us ever since. But I remember that, and my husband be like, your mom's not locking the door when she walks out. She needs to turn the key. Like, it was such, everything was like, and then my youngest, who has severe OCD, he'd go around the house and be like, Mom, are you sure all the locks are locked? Are you sure everything's, like, you kind of see these things working, like,
Sure.
oh, hand in hand. Yeah, maybe we're a little over the top with things like that. Our daughter would go to the mall, and my husband would be there. She'd have all her friends. She'd come back and she'd say, none of these girls pay attention. They're all looking at their phones. They don't realize this guy's following us. And I'm like, oh, we turned our kids into monsters for sure.
No, it's great. I think you've made kids that are well aware of their surroundings, which is a great place to be in the world. So you're not accidentally just, always on your phone and not looking at what's going on around you, right?
Yeah. I'm guilty of that too. Like, I'm like, I should not be tripping into people. Get off my phone. What am I doing?
No, that's great. I love that. So if you would say to people, I'm kind of paraphrasing this. Would you say to people, don't be afraid of the process before you come meet with somebody that can explain it to you and lay out some potential options? Get information, because information is always like beneficial. It kind of takes away some of the anxiety about the process.
I
Yeah?
think so. I think if you have a list and you understand the step-by-steps and you meet with someone that will educate you, I think all that anxiety goes away. And I'm not going to lie, as many times as we've purchased homes, and still, even we purchase homes, we bought one a few years ago. Our kids were up at Boise State, and we're like, we're not paying for 2 kids in a dorm, we'll get a place, right? And it will cover our expenses. I was hesitating on sending that chunk of money in. Like I was like, oh God, are we getting in? But that's just part of the process. And I think if you understand that's part of the process, it's a lot of money. It's a big purchase. Everything that could go wrong, you're worried about. But if you understand how everything works and you understand worst case scenario of what could happen if you can't afford your home to best case scenario, what happens when you build equity and maybe you want to start moving. I just think that having those step by step and creating those goals for people, I think it alleviates all that anxiety. They're still going to have that buyer's or seller's remorse a little bit. Yeah. But I think if you prepare them for it and you explain it, like you're going to have this. I don't care who you are. You're going to have that feeling of this is a lot of money. Is this the right decision? And just knowing what would happen to you if you bought it and maybe it wasn't the right decision, that it could turn into the right decision. So there's not as much to worry about. Unless you somehow got a loan and you can't afford the home, I don't see what the issue is because the market goes up, the market goes down, you make more money, you make less money, you write off more, you write off less. You have kids, there's so many things that come into play with a transaction and what you can afford and your write-offs and the tax benefits and things like that. I think that's the part that people are missing. They're just like, oh, we're going to buy a home. That's our payment. Yeah, but did you talk to your tax advisor? Did you find out what more you're going to bring home now? Because now you're not paying as much in taxes. Right. That extra $500, $600, $700 makes a big difference to people.
Yeah, you're right. I think it does. And like you said, the more educated people are about any process, even if there is a level of anxiety about it, it at least lets you be knowledgeably anxious.
Yes. And that's the other part is I always tell everybody, look, you're going to have times you guys are going to have like mini meltdowns. There's going to be things where you like need a therapist. That's what I'm there for. Text me. I don't care what time it is. I really don't. If I'm awake, don't be surprised when I call you right back.
Right.
But if I'm not awake, I will call you first thing in the morning. Just tell me what it is you're worrying about in a text or a voicemail. Get it out of your brain, put it to me. And then in the morning, we'll talk through it and I'll explain to you why you're not seeing the right pieces and why you're worrying when you probably shouldn't be worrying, unless you're just a worrier and you like to worry. Because we have clients like that too.
But Raquel, that's such a nice offer from you and such a good therapeutic approach to it to say, just like you said, get it out of your brain, send it over to me so I can hear what you're concerned about and let me walk you and talk you through it. Either it is a legitimate concern or maybe it's not, or maybe it is, but don't worry because that happens in every transaction, whatever it is.
Yeah,
right?
vent to me, even if you're not happy. That's the other thing is I always say, like when I sit across the table, I'm like, okay, not everything's going to go perfectly. We hope it will, and we're going to insulate you from as much problems, that
right.
appear as possible. But there will be some things that maybe you get a call or you get an email or you get something from us as the lender, the escrow company, title, something might come up that scares you. And yeah, it's not that big of a worry. This is something we do all day, every day. So let us walk you through like what's the worst thing that could happen. And most of the time it's not even that bad.
Yeah,
it's not, it really isn't.
What about insurance nowadays? Trying to get homeowners insurance.
Oh, geez, that's a nightmare. That's something that our state definitely needs to work on and I know we have the Cal Fair plan, but get something else in place. Like be realistic, like be fair. Everywhere out here can't be a high fire zone. When you're in between homes, chances of your home burning down is only going to be if the house next door is burning down. So they're packing us in with all of those mountains and all of the federal area. That's so not fair to us that have moved out here and been out here all these years. And yeah, we live in California, but insurance shouldn't be that unfair. It's like that for anything insurance-wise. I feel like it's all a scam. But something needs to happen. Our governor needs to step in. Our state reps need to step in because people are leaving the state because they can't afford those. I had a client who's went up to $20,000 a year from $5,000 because he lived up against one of the protected zones. And that just maxed him out. He couldn't afford the house anymore.
That was my point, right? So the insurance issue is like torpedoing some deals, right? For people that just...
Yeah, that and our taxes.
Yeah.
That there's just, and you can't write off all of them anymore like you used to be able to. You can only write off the 10K. So that's almost like, okay, well, why would I buy a more expensive home? Now all the taxes after that, I don't even get a write-off. I'm just throwing the money away. There's a few things like that, like insurance and some of the taxes. Melrose.
Right. It's kind of abrupt. I did one of these things with, do you know Felicia Gerardo?
Yeah. Her daughter and my daughter used to cheer together competitively. We used to go, we're in Florida once for a big event. Yeah, I really like her. She's fun.
So Felicia and I did one of these things a few months back, maybe it's even close to a year ago. And she was saying while we were talking, she said, this new thing with insurance is ratcheting up now and people don't realize it. She said insurance companies are using any chance they get to cancel you if you are late on a payment or something like that. So she said, I'm telling all my clients, do not be late on your payments, because whether it's homeowners, whatever it is. And sure enough, we've had Allstate as an insurer for since we moved in 1988, got a letter from them this year saying, sorry, we're not renewing you guys.
Yeah, and I think that that's not fair. I think that's the part that needs to be fixed. It's not fair that we all have to up our costs because they decided this, it's not good for them. But you got the win of all the years where we didn't have any fires, you didn't have any major losses. Now all of a sudden,
right,
it's the same stuff going on in Florida with their hurricanes and things like that. But this is a place where I feel like the government does need to step in.
And the other thing that was weird about that was LA County Fire came out, inspected the property, gave us an all clear. Yep. You're good. No problem. Your defensible space
You've
is
got
on
your
target.
letter for 6 months. Yeah.
Oh, good. And then the insurance company was like, sorry, you are in all kinds, whatever little nitpicky things they can do.
And I think we need attorneys coming out right now. I think that's what we need. We've got all the attorneys for everything else, the tenants' rights, the landfills, you name it. We need them to be coming out, knocking on our doors right now saying, let's get together. Let's do something about this.
I agree.
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah.
It's hurting our market. It's hurting the whole nation, but specifically the states where we have the higher impact of natural disaster.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, and I agree with you on I mean, my sort of infantile view of the whole thing is that as a big insurance provider, you shouldn't be able to pick and choose what you're offering in a state. Like you can't just say, we're going to offer car, but not home.
No, it's so wrong. If you want to be an insurer in our state, you have to insure everybody.
Yeah.
This Cal Fair plan is so off.
Yeah,
it is so unfair. That's the other thing that's pricing people out of their homes is they go to get the insurance quote, which we ask you to do the second you see a house. Call now. Right. See if you're going to be a Cal Fair plan or you're going to be able to get a regular policy, because that's going to determine your qualifications as well. As a lender, we have to figure out, let's say insurance is $3,000 or $6,000. That's the difference of them qualifying.
Will they allow you to get qualified if you were using the California Fair Plan as your policy?
They will. It's just so expensive. Yeah. So if I normally would price someone insurance $100 a month for, condo, it was like $225 maybe for a house. Now it's $400, $500, $600 a month, and that takes away your qualifications.
Yeah.
Because that's the money you would be paying towards principal or interest on the house instead.
Right. Another great example of stuff that you can counsel people on as part of the process, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing is this isn't just a little bitty transaction. This is a big transaction. And if you're willing to learn and understand it all, everything that pops up, you will not be panicked about.
Yeah. No, it's great. Raquel, I love this conversation. You're giving so much good information, and just, again, I can tell from talking to you that all of you in your whole team, you and your team and your partners, I'm sure provide people with such high-end service and take care of them, and just all the things you talked about. It's a lot of common sense, but it's a lot of information regular people don't have in their head all the time because you're in the business, you're an expert, you're a pro. It's good to have people like you there to advise regular people like us that are not.
Yeah, it's what we do. I say this a lot. When I run into people and we talk and they're like, yeah, I don't need a realtor net right now. I'm like, you do? Like you need a doctor and you need a lawyer. You need one in your phone. You need a consultant in your phone, because you're not just calling us for a real estate transaction. You're calling us for anything real estate related. Hey, I'm getting money. I'm inheriting money. What should I do? Is there a trust I could put this into? Is there a REIT? Is there a transaction where I can go in with other people? I don't have the capacity to see it myself, but I would like to buy some apartments. I'll buy it in a group.
Right.
Just so many different aspects. It's not one path. Everybody's is going to be a little different, but all of the encompassing pieces coming together, if it's done right, you're going to be in good shape. Yeah. You're going to be in good shape. Yeah.
It's great. I love this conversation. And your website is?
So there's two. I just always do my www.screalestatemamas.com.
Okay.
But we're also the gooddayhometeam.com.
Okay.
So when Tammy joined us in Tennessee, when she left California, we're like, okay, that's not fair. Like she's a mom, but she wasn't known as a mama. Yeah. So we wanted to do it. So either one of those work for us.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you. And
Yeah.
and you would say you like being in the building here? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it here. We were looking around town a little bit. I mean, I looked in the industrial center. I looked over on Main Street. I looked at our old space on Peachland. Um, and we walked in here. In fact, Tammy's the one who said, go see Fred. Like he's got something. We're in part of the space that her group was in back over there.
Right.
But I think maybe the nostalgia of it being Remax too, because when Thomas and I were licensed together and working together, we were in this building.
Yeah.
And I think coming in, but what he's done with this building
It's
is
really nice.
amazing. All the kitchens, the coffee machines. I love all the lounges. I love the quiet room with the massage chair. I mean, it's great. And he's great.
Yeah.
I didn't know Fred, so he's a new friend for me, but he's a very intelligent man. Like what he did was very smart.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
I've known Fred for probably 20 years. He's all the things you said, and he's just a fun person to be around. Endless energy, always thinking of new stuff, things to do, just like this podcast thing, right? So he's fun, and I love him as well. And I'm glad to hear you like being here in the building as well.
Oh yeah. If you need a place, come here or come to one of his buildings. They're so nice. Like donuts, right, on Fridays, and then they do like their Thanksgiving. I feel like it's a family more than it is like just different entities. But I feel like we fit because you've got the attorneys and you've got the solar and you've got the flooring and you've got the workout. You got it all. I've even worked out in there a couple times. So
Have you? Good.
yeah.
All right. Good.
Yeah. I love the underground parking. I love the gym. I love that he's dog friendly.
Yeah.
I love that it's clean. And Chance is awesome.
Chance is awesome. We love Chance.
Yeah.
He's great.
He's great. I really like him a lot. He's not a kid, but I feel like he's a good kid. I mean, he could be my kid. He's that young. So
Well, that's a good segue then to say, first of all, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you.
And again, a big thank you to Fred, who's our sponsor for this podcast series. Thank you, Fred, for that. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. And we appreciate it. And you'll come back another time.
oh my gosh, I would love to.
Okay.
If I could just talk all day, that would be my goal. I need to do more. I need to do more about just getting the word out and helping people because I truly enjoy this. I enjoy just spreading good information and making sure people know that there's people that really do care about them.
Yeah, that is. No, and I can tell for sure. You're very sincere about that. So thank you for treating people that way. It's a great,
Thank you, Ed.
we need more people in the world that are acting that way. So thank you.
I appreciate you, and I love the fancy gadgets. And this is fun.
Could you talk to Fred maybe about getting me a chair that doesn't sink down
Fred?
during the interview?
Fred, we need to get at a chair, a good chair, so that he looks taller than the women because you know how that looks, right? So, okay, let's get him a good chair.
Bad for my self-esteem. Okay. Thank you, Raquel, for
welcome.
putting in a question.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you guys for
Thank
tuning
you,
in.
guys.
Appreciate you. Here's our fancy music going away. Here we go.
Woohoo.